Hello, my name is Dylan Lang, and this is my other show, Conversations with Myself. I usually do a show called Dylan Knows, which is weekly. I just literally finished a episode not 5 minutes ago. It was a short one because it was a holiday week, short week, whatever, and I finished it, and I've been going back and forth deciding if I was going to do something like this over the political landscape over the past fortnight here. And it's eating me up inside and it's causing me discomfort. And it's driving me absolutely bonkers to see that this country is reverting back to 2016 again. And we cannot allow that to happen. Now, yes, there's a lot of doomsayers out there about things, but in a lot of cases, they're right. Over the last 2 weeks, the United States politics has gone absolutely apeshit. And I'm going to discuss it as calmly as I can. I'm prone to explosiveness, cursing, stuff like that. I did put a viewer discretion advised tag on this, and it is a not safe for work thing, so I might lose my mind a little bit. A few things. If this is your first time seeing this, first of all, my Dylan Knows show, I've been doing it close to 11 years now. And I don't have a big following, so I'm the least problematic person there is. But I'm very passionate about certain things. And I am a proud liberal, always will be. I'm not drastically left-wing. I'm trying to think I'm mid, but I don't really think of it in that way. I just think of it in what is best for people, because in the end, I care about other people. I have empathy, which is not what the Republican conservatives can say, the MAGA assholes. They do not have empathy. They don't have anything. I'm also a Christian, though non-practicing, because of all the bullshit that's been going on lately. I disagree with a lot of the stuff that the Roman Catholic Church says and does, but it is my religion. I've gone to church many, many times. I've gone through Sunday school. I've gone through confirmation, communion, been baptized. And for all intents and purposes, I'm a Roman Catholic. But I'm not a psychotic Roman Catholic like we have out there now. I believe in a woman's right to choose. I'm not anti-abortion. I do not believe everything in the Bible. The Bible, to me, is just a set of guidelines and a good story. It's also very, what's the word I'm looking for? One thing is said here, and then something different is said over here, which contradicts the other thing. That's the word I'm looking for. So the Bible you can't really count on, because if you think about the Old Testament stories, and you say Adam and Eve were the beginning of the human race, and they had 2 sons, how the hell did all these other people, and one son killed the other, how the hell did all these other people come into being? So the only thing I can think of is that one of their sons fucked his mother, if you believe that. And then, if they're both white or whatever, why do you have different colored people? And then, Noah's Ark. What about Noah's Ark? How can someone get 2 of every animal in the world when there have been animals that have not even been discovered yet that are still alive? And how can you get 2 of every animal scattered all over the world to come to your ark and to not attack the humans nor the other animals in there? Because you were in that ark for 40 days and 40 nights. How the hell did you feed them? And then after, eventual God came and just kills everybody on the planet except for Noah and his family, that recreated the earth again with just those people. Again, how they were all, how did they, different colors, and how did all that happen? No idea. And then you conservative assholes who are against homosexuality, which I am not, you use a line from the Bible that says, thou man should not lie with man, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know what it is, from Leviticus. But if you've read the rest of Leviticus, you can't just pick and choose what you follow. Because Leviticus also states that you can stone an adulterer. Who's an adulterer? That convicted felon. I'm only going to mention his name once, but he's going to be known. Donald Trump, who is the worst person ever, will from now on be called convicted felon. He is an adulterer. We should legally be able to stone him to death according to Leviticus, if you follow Leviticus. Also, you cannot eat shrimp. You cannot plant different plants side by side. You cannot wear two different types of fabric. That's all against God's law, but you do not follow those rules. You only take the one thing that backs your anti-homosexualityness of the Bible and ignore the rest stuff. Also, this is great too. It says if a man and a woman are married and they have a first kid and it is not a male, the wife has every right to fuck the brother of her husband until she gets a male heir. And if he doesn't get it for her a male heir, she's going to have to fuck someone else till she gets a male heir. That's in the Bible also. Look it up. That's the thing also. Prove your point. No, you take a look at yourself. We don't need to prove anything. It's in there. Obviously, you haven't read it because you only know this one thing. Let's put the 10 Commandments up in schools. No. The Constitution of the United States, which is the law of the land, which is the law of our country. You all claim to be patriots that love your country, and yet you shit all over the Constitution all the time. Putting the 10 Commandments up in regular schools goes against the separation of church and state. You have Catholic schools. You can teach the Bible all the fuck you want in a Catholic school, but you cannot force your religion on other people in public schools. If you put the 10 Commandments up in little schools, you should also put up other religious rules and regulations as well, including Islamic and Jewish, and that kills you because you're also racist pieces of shit. And let's look at that also, the 10 Commandments. Have you actually read the 10 Commandments? You are following your God King, the convicted felon. He's broken practically every single one of those 10 Commandments. Maybe you need to look inward before you start, forcing your religion on other people. This is not a Christian country. It is a multi-religion country. I am a Christian. I choose to be a Christian, but I am not going to force a Jewish or Islamic or Presbyterian or any of these other ones to do my religion, nor should you force them to follow your religious rules. If their religion does not forbid something that yours does, your religion does not overwrite their religion. Hence abortion. There are religions that abortion does not even appear in their religious iconography or their discussions as well. And you forcing everybody to cut back on abortions, even when women are dying and the baby's going to be dead anyway, and it could kill women, you don't give a fuck. You should not be able to force your religious beliefs on other people. If their religion forbids abortion, then that they should follow that religion. But if it does not, you need to back the fuck off. You don't get to have an abortion, but they can. Same thing with gay marriage. If you just ignore all the other stuff in Leviticus and all the other stuff that contradicts the other shit, if you're so hell bent on, homosexuality is bad, you cannot force homosexuals who are not Roman Catholic to not get married and try to convert them from being gay back to normal. You cannot do that. It is not your right. That is not their religion. That is not religion of our country. Our country does not have one religion, and it's not your fucking religion. So if you still believe that gay marriage and gay homosexuality is bad, then don't participate in homosexuality in your religion. That's fine. We're not going to say, well, you can't do that. That's your religion. It's up to you. You can do whatever the fuck you want. That's your religion. We're not going to force you to become homosexual or marry someone of the same sex. But that's what you're doing to everybody else. And it's not right. So what happened in this last fortnight? Well, let's see. On the 27th, I was at the Oriole game, which was awesome, by the way. They won 11-3, hit 4 home runs, got to see my family. It was great. It was also Pride Night because I'm pro-homosexuality, pro-gay people. So I was loving that shit. The long-awaited debate between the convicted felon and President Joe Biden happened. President Joe Biden had been crisscrossing the country, trying to fix problems as president, and also doing stops and doing, promoting himself as president, doing pressure stop. So he was run down. He had a cold, stuff like that. I'm not going to put that past that. But CNN, the mainstream media, is in the pockets of the conservatives because CNN did not double check the lies that the convicted felon said. And they don't seem to understand what a debate is. A debate, for those who don't know, is when two people have differing opinions and they are trying to, bring their opinion to try to turn people to their belief and not the other belief. And the moderators of CNN, in this case CNN, should be feeding them questions about the environment, about crime, about inflation, about gas prices, about foreign policy. And the two debaters are supposed to go back and forth about why we believe that this should be done for this, and we believe that this should be done for the same thing. It's different from what you said. You're supposed to debate back and forth. So they asked the questions. President Joe Biden, who did not have a great night, was tired, stuttering, coughing, talking low, was a little out of it, whatever. He might have done all that, but he answered your fucking questions because he has a plan. He knows what he's going to do in his second term. He knows what needs to be done. He knows that he's right. And the convicted felon did not answer a single goddamn question. He lied through his teeth 500 times, by the way, though CNN hours later said, oh, he lied 30 times. No, it was 500 times. And another group took a look at it and stuff like that. And went off on tangents that had nothing to do with the question, and they did not bring back. So he did not answer the question. You want to know why? Because the Republican Party has no platform. As long as the convicted felon is their God king, there is no platform. The whole reason for the convicted felon to be running for president is so he can save his own ass from going to jail and going back in and making money by selling our secrets to foreign enemies, where he gets to pocket all the money and then use the government to imprison and even execute his political opponents, which him and his party are saying that the whole court case that the convicted felon was convicted of was a political maneuver, which it wasn't, because he committed a crime in New York and should be held accountable. And yet here he is saying that I'm going to use it to take out my political opponents. But your MAGA followers, like, you can't do that to us. But they're okay with him doing it to the liberals. They are the hypocrite, political party, where they can do whatever they want, but if the liberals and the Democrats do the same thing, it's bad, it's wrong. Why are you doing that? You cannot do that. So the debate didn't go well. So everybody started losing their fucking mind, saying Joe Biden should drop out of the race. Not the convicted felon, who's also was convicted of raping somebody as well, and has been, has court cases in place where he sold secrets to foreign governments that got Americans killed. Look that up too. It's true. But no, they are holding the Democrats to a higher standard. And within their own Democratic Party, there were people, Michael Ian Black particularly, who I used to like, but now I think is a fucking tool, saying that he should drop out. This sounds really familiar. 2016, something similar happened with Hillary Clinton because they did not like her for whatever reason. They couldn't tell you why, but they did not like her, and they think she should have dropped out and somebody else should have took her place. Hillary Clinton still won the popular vote, but lost the Electoral College. So these same sort of Democrats who've come in and said that Joe Biden should drop out of the race, why? Haven't you been aware this was a 90-minute debate, a speck of dust? He's been president for 3 fucking years. In a poll by historians, political scientists, whatever, he was named the 14th greatest president of the United States ever. Our economy is booming. Unemployment is low. Crime is low. Inflation has gone down. Grocery prices have gone down. Gas prices have steadied. And let's bring that up again, too. I see from conservative MAGA ass fucks all the time. 4 years ago, gas prices were $1. Now they're $4. Remember that in November. Let's think back to 4 years ago, shall we? 2020. Guess what the fuck was going on? Oh, yeah, COVID was going on. You remember COVID? That disease that you fuckfaces believe was not real, even though it killed close to 1 million Americans, including my cousin, by the fucking way. So you can just shut the fuck up about that. And he was forced, the convicted felon who was president at the time was forced to follow what everybody else was saying and shut down, shops and stores and stuff like that. Certain ones they opened, grocery stores, gas stations, so on and so forth. People were furloughed. Kids would have to be taught over the internet. They could not go into schools. People were furloughed. I was furloughed for 6 months from my job. I did not have a job for 6 months, not knowing if I was ever going to get a job again. And then knowing that I could not get a job because there were no jobs opening up because the convicted felon is a terrible jobs president and COVID was still happening. So they didn't know what was going on about that. So all these companies are losing money. The grocery stores, streaming stores were big, grocery stores were kind of big, but all these other stores, stuff like that, were losing money. And gas stations, meanwhile, they still stayed open. But remember, most people were working from home. Students were were doing online classes because they couldn't leave the house. And nobody was going shopping because stores and stuff like that were closed. Sporting events were shut down. They had a lot of baseball and football games for whole seasons were done in front of no fans with piped in crowd noise and stuff like that. You ever heard of supply and demand, you morons? Of course not, because you are fucking uneducated, dumbass motherfuckers. Supply and demand basically means if you have a lot of one product and a supply of a lot of products and then demand is low, that they're not going to go for that, the price is going to drop because you're going to try to get rid of the supply you have. Meanwhile, if the demand is high and supply is low, then you're going to be charging an arm and a leg to try and get it, because so many people want it and you don't have enough. So you have to pay extra to get it. So gas, nobody was gassing it because nobody was on the road. If you ask people who had to still work, like my wife, and for other people who were out on the road still, they said the roads were basically driving on the weekends. It was dead every day of the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever. It was dead because everybody was staying home. So, of course, and most people were staying home, so they were ordering Uber and they were getting stuff from streaming and they were walking up to the grocery store with their masks on, so they weren't driving their cars. So gas stations were getting the supply of gas that nobody was using, and they were losing money because no gas was being used. So they had to drop the prices because they had to get rid of it. So once they dropped it down low enough, people started coming in and they would get the gas. So that's why prices were that low in 2020. But then the minute the vaccine came into place, they started opening up things. People started to get a handle on COVID, which is still a problem now, but we're not going to get into that right now. The prices started going up. Why? Supply demand, morons. More people now were on the roads. So they wanted gas. So the supply needed to, so it started evening out. So you saw the price going up. And then it would keep going up because then, gas stations now were like, we were losing so much money during COVID that we had to drop the prices down this low. Let's fleece the morons. So even though we shouldn't be charging $5 a gallon, we're going to, because these morons are going to pay it because they need gas for their cars. So, and then we can blame the Democrats who took over, and hopefully, we can get our tax breaks if that convicted felon comes back in 2024. But we're not going to get that now. In fact, we're probably going to get charged more. Or we're going to have, the Democrats are going to come in and make things right because they want things to be fair. And we don't, because we want to make money for ourselves. We don't give a fuck about our customers. So that's why gas prices were so high. But then something amazing happened. Gas prices went back down. A couple years after that, it reached a height of about $5. I remember it being like $5.14 was the highest in my area. And then they started going down again. And then we got into the $2.99 at one point, and then we got into the $3 like a year and a half ago, and it hasn't changed because supply and demand is now kind of even. And the assholes who are trying to fleece the companies, the Democratic liberal president, Joe Biden, passed bills to force, gas stations to do that, or they opened up gas reserves, which instead of paying an arm and a leg from Saudi Arabia, who was in the convicted felon's pocket, they got their gas from other locations, and they could not up the price because they knew that they just couldn't. And that's the other thing also, is that if the president controlled gas prices, why is it that you go to one gas station and it's $3.25? You go down to one about a mile away and it's $3.14. You go to another one about a mile away and it's $3.36. Why are they all different prices? It's the same gas, just different companies. Because the companies are trying to fleece your ass. Like companies that sell the highest prices of gas are in prime locations. There's a gas station down the street on Main Street that they're charging $3.76 right now for regular. But they are right on a road right off of 795. So you get off of 795, you need gas. The first gas station you come to is them. So they get their money because you're going to say, I'm running out of gas. I don't have time to go anywhere else. Oh, here's a gas station. I'll just get gas here. So they get their money that way. If they were just going a mile down the road, just 1 mile, Wawa would have it at $3.26. Gas for the last year and a half has been steady. It's been between $3.20 and $3.70 for me here in Maryland. I don't know where it is elsewhere, but here in Maryland, I have no issue paying that because if you remember, before COVID, gas was actually, when the convicted felon was president, was actually close to $4 a gallon. But you don't fucking remember that. All you remember is the dollar, the 99 cent, whatever, because of COVID. you don't remember that before COVID, gas prices were higher than they are now. But because your boy was in place, you didn't give a fuck it. You didn't give a fuck. They were higher then than they are now. Hypocrites. So the debate was about disaster. People are saying that Joe Biden needs to leave, but he's been president for 3 years. As I said, he's cut the budget. He's passed infrastructure laws. He's helped cap insulin and other things as well. He's passed a whole bunch. He's forgiven a lot of student debt, and he's been doing this while having one arm tied behind his back because the no working MAGA Republican shitbags in the House of Representatives do nothing and have done nothing, have not created any bills to help Americans. Instead, they are using their powers to attack their convicted felon God King's enemies by doing these false impeachment trials, which have been taking lots of taxpayer money and have proved that the people they've gone after do not even deserve to be impeached because they did nothing wrong. But they have not passed any laws that were supposed to help people. The Democrats have been doing that and have have been turned down because the Republicans don't want to give Democrats a win. Let's take the border, for example. A partisan group, Democrats and Republicans, came up with the best border bill you're ever going to see. That's from the Border Patrol themselves, who handle that stuff every time. They say there is no other border bill you're going to see is going to be as good as this one. This is the best bill ever. And the Democrats gave up a ton of shit. They didn't want to, but they gave the Republicans basically everything they wanted to get this bill passed because they knew that a lot of people were concerned about the border. So it looked like, and President Joe Biden said he would sign it if it would pass Congress, because President Joe Biden still believes that that the government only works when both Republicans and Democrats work together to pass partisan bills. He could have done other things as well, but he didn't because he believes in the old school way of thinking, because that is no longer a thing anymore, but he's old school, and that's what he was raised as. But then the God King, convicted felon, says, you can't pass this bill because it would make me look bad and I have nothing to run. This is the only thing I have that I can complain about because everything else is going so well. It's going so well that the infrastructure bill that we barely passed, we were able to get a few Republicans to sign on to it to pass it. But all the Republicans who did not sign on it, once they saw how successful it was for their people in their districts, they started taking credit for it when they rejected it. Luckily, President Biden saw that and started putting up billboards saying, yeah, we did this, not your guy. Remember that. So the MAGA-controlled Republicans killed the bill. The border bill that was, as I said, a partisan bill. Democrats and Republicans considered to be one of the best bills ever created for Border Patrol and by the Border Patrol and for immigration. Was one of the absolute best ones. Would have solved all the problems that people are upset about. Was canceled by the God King because he did not want the Democrats to win and they had nothing else to run on. So now they can say, oh, the border is a pain in the ass. Well, yeah, you had a bill and you killed it. It's your fault now the border is bad as it is. Because we had this in place, it would have shut the border down. But President Biden wasn't done yet. He knew that that was the only thing that the Republicans are holding on to. So he did an executive order. Again, he could have done an executive order at any time for the border bill. But he's old school. He wanted both Republicans and Democrats to be on board with that, because by doing an executive order, you're basically saying, I'm the president, I'm going to make rules, which is not what a president's supposed to do. Executive orders are only supposed to be used for specific reasons when there are things that, need to be done. But you need to utilize it periodically, but if you use it all the time, you become more of a tyrant, what do you call it, dictator. We'll get that a little bit in a second. So he wanted to let the partisan bill pass. It was supposed to pass. He would have signed it. It would have been a partisan bill. Both Democrats and Republicans would have got wins, but the convicted felon said no, and the lapdog said, okay, we'll kill it. So President Joe Biden does an executive order a few weeks later that basically puts in place all the stuff that was in that bill, and the border has now been secured. It is down. The rate of people coming in is down again. But he basically said, all right, I tried it your way, but this is what a big deal is for the American people, is they're worried about immigration and the border. So because it's a big deal for the American people, and I'm here to help the American people, not myself, you fucking tool, asshole, shit-faced, motherfucking traitor, shitbag, terrorist, motherfucker, rapist, racist, piece of shit. He didn't say it, but that's what I said. I'm going to pass this bill. So now they have nothing else to run on. And then this unfortunate debate thing, and now they are doubling down on their Biden is too old, his cognitive display that showed all this stuff. He should not run. He's unfit to be president. Except right after he did that, a day or so after, once he got some rest and like that, he was his old regular self again. He's admitted himself, I've never been good at debates. When he did the State of the Union, which was absolutely fantastic, he was not debating. He was doing what he was supposed to do. He's been running this country for 3 years, and this country is in better shape than it was 4 fucking years ago. And I explained to you why, to you gas heads, what that means. And then you're complaining about the price of groceries. Again, grocery stores were afraid that they were going to be losing money because people were not getting stuff. They were losing money because trucks were not delivering things. People were not buying stuff. So they had to jack up the prices during COVID to make money for their CEO so they can continue to be rich and not give a rat's ass about the American people. But then when all that came over, they said, we can't let that happen again. We got to keep our money in stock in case something like that happens again. So let's keep pumping it and making it so expensive that they're going to, we're in a booming economy now, so they're not going to care. They'll pay $5 for a loaf of bread. Who cares? It's more money for us. So everybody started complaining about the price of groceries, and they're blaming, again, President Biden, who has nothing to do with it. It's the companies, Weiss and Giant and Safeway and Food Lion, all those companies. They're the ones that, set the prices. They no longer have to deal with issues with, getting it stuff. That the trucks have been driving normally. The farmers have been doing stuff normally. The companies that make the food and stuff like that, they've been running normally. There's no longer any furloughs. In fact, as I said, this is the best jobs we've had since the 40s. So there's no reason to continue upping the price because there is no more issues. But they still do, because they're making more money for their CEO so they can be rich, because money is all MAGA Republican shitbags care about and business people care about. That's why business people and the media people want the convicted felon to be president, because he'll give them tax breaks, and also the media will get more people clicking on all the crazy stuff that they're going to be doing, so they'll get more advertising dollars, so they'll be rich also. Then a funny thing happened. President Biden tried to pass a bill to get the grocery people to give a break to the U.S. people, because you don't need to do that anymore. The Republican MAGA said, nope, fuck no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pass that. So then the American people said, well, then fine, I'm not going to buy anything else. So people weren't going shopping as much. So now places like Walmart and Walgreens, stuff like that, who've been jacking up the prices, are like, oh, shit. They're not buying the stuff now. Maybe we priced them out. Maybe we should reduce our prices to where we can make some money off it. Maybe not as much as we want to, but we can make some money off of it. So guess what? Prices in these places started to drop. A good example was I went to the grocery store the other day. It's still a little high to me, but I buy chocolate, Reese's stuff Reese's sticks, stuff like that. I buy about 5 of them, the king size ones for my week. So when I come in from work, after I come after work, it's my snack. I get a Gatorade and I get one of these Reese's sticks and I sit there and eat them. They were $2.99 for so long. And then last week, they were reduced to $2.69. It's only 30 cents, but still 30 cents I saved. And it wasn't, hey, we're taking 30 cents off. It's going to be jacked back up to $2.99. No, that's the price now. It was no, we're not taking off price. It's not a sale thing for this week. No, that's the new price for it, $2.69. 30 cents less than it was. So you're trying to see that. That's it. Gas prices, gas prices are the lowest they've been on July 4th weekend in almost 5 or 6 years, almost 4 years, because COVID was still going on at that time. But yeah, so as I said, if you look at the gas price, if you live in a normal place like I do, it's anywhere between $3.20 and $3.70. I've never seen it go much higher than that. I mean, it might be $3.78, $3.75, but I've never seen it be $3.8. Haven't seen it $4 in over a year and a half now. And I get regular. So President Biden over the last 3 years has been doing a pretty goddamn good job. And now after one bad debate performance, all these supposed Democrats want him to step away because he's old and tired. Have you been seeing what he's been doing over the last 3 years? No, you haven't. All you see is what you see on the stage. Oh, he looks like old, decrepit, blah, blah, blah. And in some cases, also a lot of that are it's the Republicans' only way because they know that President Biden is the only one who can really beat Donald Trump. He's done it before. Do you think if Joe Biden decided to retire and pass on, do you think any of the other potential Democratic people can take over and beat Donald Trump the way Joe Biden did? No. And to think that, the media would get back to, oh, well, we have a good Democrat in place. No, they would find something wrong with the new Democrat because they want the convicted felon to be president again. And that's the other thing also that drives me crazy. So what if something happens? What if President Biden wins his election? And about a year into his second term, something happens to him. He gets sick, gets ill, has a episode or whatever fake medical stuff they're coming up with now. You do realize how presidential succession works, right? Maybe you don't because you're fucking morons. We have a capable, wonderful, brilliant vice president in Kamala Harris, who, if something happened to President Biden, I would feel just fine with Kamala Harris coming in and being president until Joe feels better, or if Joe is just done and Kamala is president to run out the rest of his term. Kamala Harris is a brilliant vice presidential candidate, a wonderful political person, and is spot on, all in on what Joe Biden wants to do also. President Biden wants to do also. But she's a woman of color. Oh my God, we can't have her running the country now because we're racist, fuckbag sexists. Kamala Harris is a decent political person. And you don't want her because she's a black woman, because you're racist pieces of shit. I'm comfortable with if something happened to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris coming in to be president, I would be absolutely fine with that because she's all in with Joe Biden, President Biden. So it's only about him being too old for the job or whatever. You do realize he has a vice president. And if something did happen, he got to be too old or whatever to do his job, we have a good person to back him up. But because she's a black woman, all you racist, sexist shitbags are losing your fucking mind about that. So, as I said, the Republican Party does not have a platform. They have no answers to health care. They have no answers to student debt. They have no answers to what they're going to do overseas, except when it comes to Ukraine, because they are traitors. They said, we can end the Russian-Ukraine war by giving Ukraine to Russia. That's not how it works. Ukraine was its own country. Russia invaded it. Ending a war by giving the person who started the war parts of what he wants is not how you end a war where a legal takeover of a country happened. You do not give them parts of the country to end the war. You fucking traitors. And you have no plan for the Palestine-Israel thing, because what the biggest thing about that is everybody's freaking about how Palestinian people are getting wiped off the planet. Children and women and men who are not in the military or whatever are getting massacred, and it's a bloodbath over there. But you know who backs, and Netanyahu is the main problem with that. It's not all Israel. It's Netanyahu, who is the convicted felon of Israel. Netanyahu has made a deal with convicted felon, and the convicted felon is backing Israel on this. So they will continue to do the Palestinian slaughter. They have no plan. They don't know what they're going to do. They don't believe in climate change. They do not believe in vaccines. The plague has reappeared out west because these morons are not getting vaccinated on it, and they're spreading the plague to other people. What they do have a platform on is something called Project 2025. And it's so bad, and I'm going to just use the name this time, Trump's hands are all over it. The convicted felon's hands are all over it. This is what he wants to do. And then it's got out about, people have been posting, that the people who helped write it are posting about how great it is and how they're saying this is what we're going to do to try to build up their base, because their base is what the base wants to do. But people like us who have actually read it and know what they're saying, this is Project 2025 is turning the United States into a dictatorship, is destroying democracy, is turning to a fascist dictatorship with their God King convicted felon as the leader. Project 2025 is not a joke. It's not it would never happen. We're being alarmist. People never thought that Roe versus Wade would be overturned. It was. People didn't think the Supreme Court would give the president immunity. They did. So don't tell me that we're overreacting to this Project 2025. Now, Project 2025 basically is, if the convicted felon wins the election and goes into become the president, he will be a dictator day one. He said that many, many times. He will be a dictator day one. He will put out an abortion ban, a countrywide abortion ban. Right now, he's allowing the states. That's why there's still abortions legal in states like Maryland. But he will create an abortion ban. He will fire over 500,000 federal workers and put his own people into their jobs. He's going to get rid of the Department of Education. He's going to take money that's supposed to go to public schools and deliver that to private schools, who are supposed to be privately funded, not federally funded. That's why they're called private schools and why they are charging kids to go there. They're going to get rid of contraception. So no more pill, no more condoms, no more stuff like that. They're going to keep track of your sexual, and I'm not making this, look it up yourself, Project 2025, look all this shit up yourself. They're going to keep track of your sexual activity. And if you get pregnant and you try to get an abortion, you will be jailed and probably killed, executed, because you got pregnant, want to try to abort it. So all you people who like to have sex for pleasure, they don't want you to have sex for pleasure. They don't want you to have sex for pleasure. All these rules are not going to apply to them. They're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want. The fucking convicted felon who's anti-abortion has had more abortions than anybody in the world, and enjoys having sexual activity with prostitutes and porn stars and young girls and because he's a fucking pedophile, which we're going to talk about in a few seconds also. But for everybody else in the country, you're not going to be able to have sex for pleasure anymore. You're not going to be able to have contraceptives. So if you do have sex and you get pregnant, oops, and there's going to be abortion ban. So can't have an abortion, can't have plan B. You're going to have this kid. 9 months, baby. You're going to have this fucking kid, even though you might not be ready yet. They're going to get rid of the Department of Education. I think I said that already. He's going to use the Department of Justice to go after his political enemies, which means he would imprison and probably murder President Biden, former Speaker of the House, what's her face? I can't remember. Nancy Pelosi, and all of his enemies. He's going to get revenge on them. He will consolidate power, and Congress will have no way to stop him, even if he wins the presidency, but the Democrats turn the House and the Senate over. He will dissolve the House and the Senate and take all control for him. And he's got the Supreme Court behind him because he's placed 3 Supreme Court justices on there, and there are 3 that are conservatives also, and there's only 9 justices. Everyone's talking about that President Biden should expand the Supreme Court, but the Republicans are like, no, don't do that. That's not fair. I guarantee you, if he gets in office, he's going to expand the Supreme Court to like 12 or 13 and put all of his. So now we're going to be really outranked. What else is there? Let me see if I can find. Corey had a good list of them. I have the list here. It might have just been. Yeah, it might be just from someplace else. Yeah, it might be someplace else. Let me see if I can find. Let's see. Plan proposed taking partisan control of the Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Commerce, the Federal Communications Commission, and the Federal Trade Commission, dismantling the Department of Homeland Security, sharply reducing environmental and climate change regulations to favor fossil fuel production. The blueprint seeks to institute tax cuts, though its writers disagree on the wisdom of protectionism. Project 2025 recommends abolishing the Department of Education. Programs need to be transferred to other agencies or terminated. Funding for climate research would be cut, while the National Institute of Health would be reformed along conservative principles. The project seeks to cut funding for Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. As well, they'll get rid of all that. Urges the government explicitly reject abortion as health care. The project states that life begins at conception. States to eliminate coverage of emergency contraception under the Affordable Care Act and enforce. They'll get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Also, they will infuse the government with elements of Christianity. Proposes criminalizing pornography, removing legal protections against discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, and terminating diversity, equality, and inclusion programs, as well as affirmative action. By instead having the DOJ prosecute anti-white racism, the project recommends the arrest, detention, and deportation of undocumented immigrants living in the United States by using the military to capture and place them in internment camps. and the Insurgent Act of 1807 would be used to allow the military to engage domestic policing and assist capturing undocumented immigrants. It promotes capital punishment and the speedy finality of those sentences. It also would be even people who've gone through the system and are officially proper citizens, have gone through the system, they will be deported as well or put in these internment camps. And now, people are starting to learn more and more about this, so they're absolutely freaking out about it because this is the beginning of dictatorship, fascism, and Republicans used to not want government to control your life, any aspects of life. Now they want to because it's all about power. So now that all this is coming out, they're starting to freak out about it. So the convicted felon is like, I don't know anything about Project 2025, and I don't agree with a lot of it, which is a bunch of bullshit because your fingerprints are all over it. All your guys are involved with it, and your fingerprints are all over it. They've been announcing this Trump's 2025 plan. So you are all over this. So do not go that you are Project 2025's face. So if you want to live in a world that's a dictatorship and not a democracy, that's the other thing also. He said he's going to take a look at the Constitution and determine when elections should be done and how elections should be done and so on and so forth, like that. So there's a lot more to it. There's 900 some pages that you're going to have to go through, but that's just the basic tip of the iceberg of what this Republican MAGA sons of bitches want to do to this country, which is why we've been saying this could be your last Independence Day. This could be your last fair election that you're ever going to have, because if they win and they implement Project 2025, we're never going to have a fair election again unless we rise up in civil war, and nobody wants to do that, right? So Republicans have also said that, they believe in Project 2025 and that if the left-wingers do not acquiesce to it, there will be blood. So they're already threatening that as well. They're threatening just, having the police have much more power in getting people. So that would be going after African Americans, stuff like that. They'll be able to do that. There'll make more people poor. There'll be tax cuts for the rich so that the middle class like us, we're going to take more of the burden of it. So we're going to become more poor. They're getting rid of the retirement age, moving it to like 80 or something like that. They're going to get rid of your Social Security, your Medicare, your Medicaid. I'm telling you, they get rid of the Affordable Care Act. This is all stuff that is not alarmist. This is stuff they're going to fucking do. And you're so blinded by, he had one bad, thing. He's too old to run the country. President Biden is, and we don't want a black woman being our leader, that you're willing to acquiesce to a traitorous, rapist, racist, sexist, shitbag, terrorist traitor and his minions who, for whatever reason, feel he cannot do any wrong. And now the Supreme Court, the way that, he, as I said, he installed 3 people illegally and they lied. So they should be stuff like that. And then the other 3 who have signed on for it have all been, have not been involved in these cases because they've been taking money from people who these cases are going to affect directly. And if they're giving money and all this stuff, so they can't vote against them because then they would get in a lot of trouble. But no one's doing anything about that. So the Supreme Court decided that the president has immunity when it comes to acts of an act of presidency, which means that while the convicted felon was president, all the crimes that he committed as president, he's immune from getting prosecuted for and cannot be brought up in any other court cases that may connect to what he did, which basically means that he's not going to get charged for stealing all of our top secret documents and selling them to foreign powers and killing Americans. But then everyone was like, well, everyone else was like, well, President Biden's now president. He can use these powers as well. Here's the thing. As I said earlier, President Biden does not abide by that. He does not believe in that. He believes that the government should not be, the president should not be a king. That the reason why they have Congress is to help make things legal and above board. That's what the Constitution is. That's what the Founding Fathers want. They didn't want a king to run the country. That's what they just got away from in England. And doing whatever he wants to in the presidency, which is illegal but has immunity to it, is basically akin to him being a king. So he would never do that. Let's just say he decided that he was going to, remove the 3 justices that were legally placed there, or remove the 3 justices that have taken bribes and stuff like that from people like that, and place them with his own people without going through Congress. Or what if he decided to arrest the convicted felon for lying, stuff like that? And he can't be prosecuted. He's president of the United States. So according to the Supreme Court, he has immunity. And it's an official act. Unfortunately, because the Supreme Court is backing the convicted felon, they would make the case that what you just did, all that stuff, should not be covered in the act of, an official act of the presidency. You cannot remove people. You cannot do that. So we're going to investigate you, and you do not have immunity to that, and you're going to go to jail. But if the convicted felon did that, they'd be like, yeah, that's okay. You're fine. You can do that. Because they have it set up so that because they are the majority, they can say what you did is wrong to President Biden, and you're going to be convicted of it. But if the convicted felon does the same thing, it's like, oh, no, it's okay. That's how they set up. That's why people are freaking out about immunity, because everyone's like saying, well, why can't he just use his immunity? Because, again, President Biden is not that person. He's not going to do that. But if he even tried to, the Supreme Court would say, can't do it. It doesn't fall under the purview, because the definition of official act is not really clarified. So the Supreme Court can say it's not. But then if the convicted felon did the same thing, they can say, well, yeah, it kind of technically is. Even though, but by then, President Biden's already in trouble, so no one can say anything. Well, because the same thing happened too. When Mitch McConnell refused to let President Obama replace somebody Supreme Court a year before the 2016 election, he said a lame duck president cannot do that, because we don't know who's going to take over for the presidency, and whoever takes over the presidency should have the right to set the Supreme Court as he wants to. And then in 2020, when they had to replace somebody, they literally did it like a week before the election. You didn't know that he was going to win. He wasn't a lame duck, sure, but you didn't know he was going to win, but you still allowed it because it was your guy. So that's the same thing that the Supreme Court is doing with immunity. So President Obama had every right. He was still president. It was still a year. The election hadn't even happened yet. It was still about a year before the election, maybe a few months, maybe 8-9 months before the election, that he's still fucking president through that time. He should still be allowed to place who he wants on the Supreme Court up to January 20th at 10 a.m., 9 a.m., whatever it is. He should be able to do that, because he's still the fucking president at that time. So in the end, technically, you should have allowed Obama to do that. That would have not put Gorsuch in there. We would have had another Democratic liberal judge in there. So that would have been, it would have made things still, in the end, the Republicans still would probably been able to hold out to a 5-4 majority instead of a 6-3. But the fact that they just said you can't do that and then let their guy do it is exactly what's going to happen if President Biden decided to use his newfound immunity to do something that is considered an act, because the convicted felon is a traitor to our country by selling top secret stuff. But they will say it's not, because they'll make up some sort of deal. But then if he did the same thing, if a convicted felon decided to, charge somebody with doing that and arrest somebody for that, they'd be like, yeah, it's okay because it's part of your deal, because there's no description for it, because it's set to help the convicted felon and anyone who follows him. On top of that, also, the Supreme Court also made it okay for bribes to be okay, and also got rid of protections to the environment. So now we cannot go after like a Chevron or something like that, which contradicts a case that Clarence Thomas himself said was the right thing to do back in the early 2000s. And he was one that says, no, you can't do that now, because his boy, and he's being bribed by people that this would affect. So he said, no, you can't do this. So that's going to make things even worse for us too. And then on top of that, it's been almost 2 weeks now, technically I guess a week, since the debate. And that's still what everybody's talking about. Now, it's gotten less and less as Project 2025 is starting to become a little bit more out in the open. So that's kind of a good sign. But then it was just released. The Epstein papers were just released, and the MAGAs have been screaming for this because they knew that President Clinton would be on it, and they knew that there'd probably be some other high-ranking Democratic people. So they wanted those out there so that those Democratic people could pay for stuff. What they weren't aware of is that their God King, the convicted felon, is on there more than anybody else. And he is a pedophile. He has raped and had sex with 13 and 12-year-old girls. He's been charged with that before. Epstein died under his watch. So they wanted all this stuff to come out because they wanted to make a big deal about, hey, Democrats, you're all pedophiles. And yet their God King is a pedophile. It's proven right there. You said once the Epstein stuff is revealed that the Democrats are pedophiles, and we can claim that. But now it says that your God King is a pedophile, and now there's not even a word about it. Crickets. Nobody's covering it. The mainstream media is bought and sold by people who are all MAGA Project 2025 people because they want the tax cuts, they want advertising dollars, they want money. That's all this is about, is money. That's all that this country is about now, is everybody wants money, money, money. They don't care about regular Americans, so that's why they are going to give every power they can to a grifter con man who all he cares about is money also, and doesn't give a fuck about the people who he's supposed to, and force these people to work their asses off to make them more money and make it so that they can't quit those jobs because then they would be worse off than they could be. That is what we're dealing with right now. That is why we are declaring that the end of America is coming, that this is the season finale of America. But that's the key right now. It's the season finale. It's not the series finale of America. How can we make sure this does not happen? Very simple. You reelect President Biden and Kamala Harris. You turn the House of Representatives from Republican to Democrats. We're only down by one vote right now, one seat right now. The Republicans have only one more seat than Democrats do right now. So we need to we need to go past that one seat and actually go even further and have a vast majority in the House so that they have a minority in the House. And in the Senate, though we claim to have a majority in the Senate, two of the people are traitors who went in as Democrats, but they follow the Republican credo. So we're dead even on that. We need to take back the Senate and keep the seats that we have. So we need to have, right now, in order to save this country, we need to have a Democratic Senate, a Democratic House of Representatives, a Democratic president. And you have to absolutely destroy the convicted felon. More than 7 million votes, which was a lot. You got to do more than that because they still have some tricks up their sleeves with the illegitimate Supreme Court. And also they've announced that, we thought January 6th was bad. They've got another January 6th planned in their back pocket. This time it's going to work because they know what they're doing. But at the same time, we also know what they've got planned. Well, we have an idea of what they're going to have planned, so we're going to be ready for that. That's how you save America. You get President Biden and Kamala Harris reelected. You take over the House of Representatives, take control of the House of Representatives, take control of the Senate. You knock out all the MAGA reprobates in there. And you go in and you do your next 4 years. So in that next 4 years, what do you need to do? You increase the number of Supreme Court seats and fill all those with Democrats. You start investigations into the illegitimate Supreme Court, the ones who take bribes and the ones who were put there and lied to us. You need to start investigating them, which is all legal above board. This is not a political thing, whatever. And immunity should not cover. It's they breaking the law. That's the whole point. MAGAs don't quite understand what breaking the law means. When there's a law and you break it, there are consequences. It is not political vendettas. It's not like that. They broke a law. They need to get to that end of that. We need to codify Roe versus Wade. We got to make abortion legal again. We've got to put voter rights back in place. We got to put more money to help Ukraine stop Russia. We got to figure out this Israel-Palestine stuff, which is a big deal. We got to pay off more student debt. What else? You've got to, more than anything, African Americans feel like they are the ones who are saving democracy, and they are. We need to do stuff to help them out. We need to pass laws to help them out. We need to drop taxes. We need to keep dropping the deficit. We need to get rid of the Electoral College. We need to investigate the convicted felon and have his other court cases get seen and heard, and we can fight against this immunity thing. We have to overturn the immunity law. We have to overturn the bribe law. We have to overturn the Chevron stuff. We got to pass climate change rules. We have to do all of this. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you elect President Biden and Kamala Harris. They are the only ones. All the people who are being floated out there to replace President Biden, Governor Whitmer, Governor Newsom, they've all said, I'm not going to fucking do that. I'm backing Joe Biden, man. 2028 is a different story. But right now, we're backing Joe Biden. 4 more years. 4 more years. If Joe Biden does not get elected and the convicted felon comes in, this country's over. And it's not because Joe Biden had one bad debate. It's because of people like you who think a debate says more about a president than what he's done the last 3 fucking years. He's number 14 on the list of greatest presidents of all time. Of all time. Where's convicted felon? He's last. Even the guy who was president for 30 days before he passed away is ahead of him. Even Herbert Hoover, who was one of the worst presidents we ever had, is ahead of him. We need to turn Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. into states. Got to do that also. We cannot do all this stuff unless the Democrats take control of everything. I know people are freaked out that they don't want one party to control everything, but guess what? The Republican Party, as it is now, is not patriots. They are not for America. They are for the convicted felon. They are for Russia. They are for money. They are for the Christian God. They want to get rid of the Constitution. They want to ignore the Constitution. That's the other thing we can do also if we get into power. Gun control. We don't want to get rid of all guns. We want to get rid of ARs. Regular people do not need ARs. ARs belong in the hands of our military. Police officers do not need to have ARs. We need to defund the police. We need to go after the billionaires who are not paying their taxes, fair share of taxes. We need tax breaks for the middle class and the lower class. We need to give African American men and women a sign that we are for them, that we know that they're the ones that are saving us, and we need to give them all the help they need. We need to help them too. There's a lot of work needs to be done. This country can be great again. But the best way that we can be great again is to get rid of the convicted felon and the MAGA party. You get rid of them, maybe the Republican Party then will start showing some balls again and start dissing MAGA and the convicted felon and start getting back to where we were, because we do need to have two separate political powers, but we cannot have one of them be a political party that wants to create that wants to destroy democracy, wants to create a dictatorship. We need two political parties like we had back in the old days to debate, and they've got to adjust to how things are. Also, other things that LGBTQ also needs to get protections. Immigrants who are trying to become American citizens need to have protections as well. We cannot have internment camps. We cannot have the killing of people trying to cross the border. We need to bring Texas and Florida in line. We need to get vaccines up and running again. We need to help empower our educational system. We need to help public education. We need to refurbish schools. We need to do a better job of teaching. Hell, I want to get rid of this no student left behind bullshit. Teach us what we used to know. Don't become so obsessed with testing. Focus on what we need to learn and what we need to do. We need to be educated again, because the uneducated fucking morons are what is destroying this country. People who just look at what people are saying or the popular thing. There are people that I know who don't vote at all that saw the elections like, oh, we got to get rid of Joe Biden, but they've never been interested in any aspect of politics. All they see is, I work with people who are in a kind of a worse economic situation than I am. They are scraping by. They have to do two jobs, and I feel for them. I do. I really do. But they're blaming President Biden for their lot in life, and that is unfair. It's businesses who are not raising the minimum wage. That's something else we need to do. We need to raise minimum wage. We need to have companies pay fair share to people, to their workers. We need to have housing be more affordable. There is so much we need to do, and we can't do it with the convicted felon and his MAGA army in our government who want to turn it into a dictatorship. You think it's bad now, it's going to be fucking worse then if they win. There's so much we need to do, and we can do it if we take back the House, the Senate, and the presidency. We can do all this stuff. We can clear out all these things. We can figure out the bad stuff. We can get the people who are breaking the law in prison where they belong. We can do stuff to get things back to where they need to be. We need to get the billionaires to pay their fair share in taxes so that the lower classes don't take the burden on it. We need to make things better for people, pricing for groceries and gas and apartments and stuff like that. We need to do that. Yes, we're in good shape now, but we need to do better. We need to protect our rights. And we need to become educated. Look up Project 2025 if you want to see how bad the world is going to be. And I don't understand that either. Elderly people voting for the convicted felon. I don't understand why they would, because guess what? They're going to cut your Social Security. They're going to cut your Medicaid. And guess what? You're not going to have any money. You're going to be poor again. You're going to be out on the street. You're going to be homeless. That's the other thing also. The Supreme Court also made homelessness be illegal also. So people can jail people who are homeless. Again, all this stuff is set up for Project 2025. They're laying the foundation for it. So the only way you can break that foundation is to win the presidency with President Joe Biden and win the House and win the Senate, to have a Democratic complete control of the government. Last time that happened, early 90s, guess what happened? President Clinton and the House and Senate were able to reduce the deficit so much that we actually had a fucking surplus. The only president to do that, to have a surplus. And that was, guess what? Was destroyed by a Republican president. Also, what else happened during the last time we had control of the House, Senate, and presidency? Oh, yeah, we passed a gun ban. Gun shooting, school shootings, killings, gun killings were reduced immensely. Then when the Republicans took back over one of the houses, that's when things started getting worse. And 1999 with Columbine was the beginning of the new school shooting phase because the gun ban was lifted by the Republican Party. There's a shit ton of stuff we have to do. And Joe Biden knows what needs to be done. He's president. He's been president for 3 years now, almost 4. He is the 14th best president that the United States has ever had. He has passed so much stuff. It's not even funny, even with his hands tied behind his back. Let's just think what he could do if his arms were free. All the bills that were passed by the Senate, who was a Democratic stronghold, that were not passed by the House, are all stuff that we want passed. You get that Democrat and you get the Senate and the House under Democrat control and the presidency. All those bills come back out. All those bills become law, and the life gets better. Life can get better. I don't want to hear any more bullshit about getting rid of Joe Biden because he's too old. We have a competent vice president. If something, God forbid, happened to Joe, a competent vice president in Kamala Harris. But you don't like her because you're sexist, racist jackasses. President Biden and VP Kamala Harris is the way to go. You don't want the country to fall into fascism, become a dictatorship, become awful. You have no idea. You're so uneducated and so stupid. You have no idea about how bad things are. Even the people who are backing the convicted felon have no idea how bad things are going to be for them. And in a way, you think that the convicted felon would want one of the houses to fall, either the House or the Senate, to go to the Democrats. That way he can blame the Democrats for everything that he himself is doing. And the morons would eat it up and believe it and say, you can repress me all you want. You can take away my Social Security, but it's the Democrats' fault, not the convicted felon. Read Project 2025. It's the convicted felon. Don't believe him. He's a liar. He's the biggest liar you've ever seen. Everything he says is a fucking lie. He's never said anything truthful except for what he's going to do to this country. That is truthful. All the other shit he takes credit for, being the best president in this, and this, is all bullshit. Look it up. It'll take 2 seconds of your time. Look it up. Find out what happened. Don't go with what people are saying now, because it's all propaganda. And you're fucking morons. You have no idea what's going on. You need to get your shit together. And you need to realize that if the Democrats don't win, you're fucked. We are all fucked. But you're too stupid to realize that. He doesn't give a rat's ass about you dumbasses. He's not going to reduce prices on any bullshit. You're not going to see anything to make your life better, except your ability to be more racist fucking pieces of shit to people. That's why you like him, because you're all racist, sexist pieces of shit. And it's not entirely your fault because of your economic situation. The Democrats can help you with that. They haven't been able to because they've had their hands tied, because the Republicans, who don't give a rat's ass about you, have got control of the House. So any bills we try to pass to help you morons could not get passed because the Republicans don't give a shit about you. They don't. Project 2025. Look it up, dumbasses. Find out what you're getting into. And as for you people who think President Biden is too old and you're not going to vote for him or someone else needs to replace him, get a fucking clue. That's exactly what they want you to do. They are afraid. They know Joe Biden is the only one who can beat that motherfucker. None of these other people are going to be even close to beating him. Even the great Kamala Harris, who would be great, and if President Biden did step aside, she would be the next person up on that. But then you've got all the sexist, racist piece of shit who are not going to vote for her. President Joe Biden is the way to save the United States. The season finale of America is coming up in November. Don't make it the series finale. Educate yourself. Project 2025. Look it up. The MAGA convicted felon gets in there. You're fucked. We are all fucked. And you're too stupid to realize it. It's still enough time. Do some research. Don't just go by what you've seen and heard from other people. Do your own fucking research. Or tell you what, even better, you guys don't vote anyway, so don't fucking vote anymore. One less vote for that asshole, convicted felon. Educate yourself. This does not have to be the end of America, but it might be if that moron, convicted felon, terrorist, traitor, racist, rapist, liar, piece of shit gets into office. Project 2025. Look it up, morons. You might think I'm being a little bit angry towards you, but you're the fuck faces who don't realize what's coming, what shit is coming down the pipeline. This is not good shit. This is bad shit. Educate yourself. Stop listening to stupid talking heads who are all propaganda for the convicted felon. And you Democrats, traitors to your own Democratic Party. Look, you have every right to vote for whoever you want to. I don't give a rat's ass. But if you are refusing to look at what President Biden has done in the last 1, 2, 3 fucking years, and one bad 90-minute debate is going to change your fucking mind over 1, 2, 3 fucking years of booming economy, inflation going down, gas prices going down, grocery prices going down. Crime is on the lowest it's been in a while. Unemployment is low. The economy is up. It is the best economy we've had almost ever. Our economy is helping make the rest of the world get better. Let's take a look at the cousins who we left, England. They just voted out all the conservative, fuck-face, right-wing shitbags in their government and have the good, decent people coming in to take control. Those fuckbags have been in charge for for many years. Now good has prevailed over the right-wing conservatives. It's now our time. Project 2025. Look it up, dumbasses. Look at what, if you vote for the convicted felon, this is on you. And I swear to fucking God, I probably won't do it, but I would love to hunt you fucking down. But I won't. Because again, this is our free country. But guess what? Project 2025 gets set in place. You will not have a free country anymore. You will not vote be able to vote anymore. You will not have any more rights anymore. Educate your goddamn selves. Project 2025 is what is coming. It is a shit show. And if you let it come in, you are fucking destroying this country you claim to love. Fuck off. Educate yourself. Learn something. Stop being pieces of shit that follow just what talking heads are saying. It's all propaganda. President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, they're the only choice right now. Again, it's your right to vote for whoever you want to, but if the convicted felon gets in there, and take a look at his record, convicted felon, rapist, racist, traitor, terrorist, you really want someone like that to run the country? He was not respected by any other country except for the countries that can take advantage of him. Russia takes advantage of him. Saudi Arabia took advantage of him because he's so fucking stupid. And all he cares about is fucking money. You compliment him, you give him some money, he will suck your dick because he's that piece of shit. He's also a pedophile. Let's remind ourselves, MAGA hates pedophiles. They've been calling Joe Biden a pedophile forever. They've been calling, Democrats pedophiles forever. But guess what? They've been screaming, bring Epstein's tapes out. Let's see who's on there. Your God King is a pedophile. He's on the Epstein files all over the place. He raped and had sex with 12 and 13-year-old girls. That's pedophilia, you dumb fucks. But you MAGA assholes that use that as a slur against Democrats, calling us all pedos, when your God King is the biggest pedo out there right now. Look that shit up also. So if you vote for the convicted felon, you're voting for a convicted felon, a pedophile who you guys claim to be against, a rapist, a racist, a sexist, a traitor, a terrorist. None of this is being overwhelming. He's also, if you look at him also, you think Joe Biden's bad. The convicted felon is showing more signs of dementia than Joe Biden is. Joe Biden has had a clean bill of health, psychologically, whatever. The convicted felon is talking about sharks and batteries and Hannibal Lecter being a real person and windmills causing cancer and streets and wind and all kinds of, he can't even get through anything. Joe Biden sat down for a half-hour conversation with ABC. They only talked about him leaving the presidency. They didn't ask him about anything else. Then they offered the same thing to the convicted felon. He refused to do it. And now everybody's saying Joe Biden is terrible and stuff, but the convicted felon did not even go and have a sit-down interview. They know Joe Biden can beat their God King. That's why they're trying to get into your stupid little heads that President Biden is not a capable president. And again, let me just reiterate again, if he is not a capable president, he has a capable backup who is younger than I am. Or she might be a couple years older. But anyway, she's in her 50s. I'm in my 50s. Do you think I'm cognitively, losing my mind? No, you hate her because she's a black female. Because you hate women, you hate black people. And you claim you have black friends. And I see you out there, the uneducated people who are hating on Biden and want to support the convicted felon. You have friends who are black people and you're hanging out with them. You do not realize, and you have friends who are Mexican and Spanish, you do not realize that if the convicted felon wins and Project 2025 is put in place, all that shit is going to go out the window. Your friends are going to be gone. They're going to be in internment camps. They're going to be gassed and killed, just like in the Holocaust, because Donald Trump, who I'm going to say his name right now, loves Adolf Hitler. Loves him. All this is stuff I'm not making up out of my ass. This is all stuff that's reported. We know about it. And everything I say is true and on the numbers. But you're so stupid that you believe all the gaslighting and the fake stuff and the hypocrisy of the MAGA Republican Party against the Democrats. And you're voting against your own self-interest because you're stupid. Educate yourself. This is not a fucking joke. America is on the verge. Season finale, series finale. We're that thin. Where the network is looking at it and say, should we continue on with the show or should we just end it now? You don't want that to happen. Project 2025. Look it up. Convicted felon, rapist, racist, terrorist, traitor, sexist, liar. That's not just words. That's all proof. He's proven that time and time again. He's not religious. He doesn't go to church, doesn't read the Bible, has broken all 10 commandments. And he's your God King. You really don't understand what Jesus believed in. You look at what God says and you ignore what Jesus says. Your biggest thing is they're one and the same. Well, guess what? Jesus is saying this, so if they're one and the same, you should back what Jesus is saying is also, not just what God is saying. And they contradict each other. Read the fucking Bible also, if you believe it, you fucking Christians who believe so highly in God and love and all that stuff. You are not Christians. You're putting up the 10 commandments, but you're getting rid of meals for people who cannot afford it, children who cannot afford it. Jesus would be shaking his head at you and probably be whooping your ass. Project 2025, look it up. You want to live a dictatorship? Fine. I don't want to. And if we end up being a dictatorship, I'm coming after you or whoever's doing this bullshit because this is not America. Season finale, series finale. The network, we're the network. We have to make a decision. Do we want to continue with American democracy, or do we want to end it and follow in the footsteps of a sexist, racist, rapist, liar, terrorist, traitor? Oh, yeah, pedophiles in there also. All stuff you claim to hate. You claim the Democratic Party is, but your God King is all of that. Educate yourself. Project 2025. The convicted felon doesn't like you. He isn't going to help you. And you know what? If you don't vote for Joe Biden and Joe Biden wins, guess what? Joe Biden's going to help your dumbass anyway. Because you're an American and he is the president of the United States. And his job, and he knows that this is his job, is to take care of the American people, not just himself or high-priced business people. Take care of everybody. People who don't like him, people who want to kill him, people who didn't vote for him, people who love him, people who can't stand him, people who think he's great, people think he's the greatest thing ever. He loves all of you. He doesn't love one more than other. You're the convicted felon. Doesn't care about anybody except himself and money. He'll do anything, including selling out the United States of America to get money. Educate yourself. Project 2025. Season finale, series finale. It's your choice. Make the right fucking one.